大家好，我是温哥华青少年钢琴家俱乐部委员，我叫 Jessica。这里是弹琴访友节目第10期。今天我们请到了朱丽叶学院的 Aaron Wunsch 教授。So hello, Dr. Wunsch.
Hello.
So you've come here to Vancouver and you've had a really nice performance on the water music.
Thank
And you must be really busy today with all the masterclass and performance. So have you come to Vancouver before?
You know, I've never been to Vancouver before. I've come here on the way to China or the way back from China, but I never had a chance to be here in the city of Vancouver. So I'm very happy to be with you, and it's been wonderful to hear so many young pianists play so well. And of course, the city is very beautiful.
So it's your first time.
First time.
Are you going to go somewhere and look at some views?
We'll see. Mostly I'm busy with the music on this trip, but I hope to look around a little bit too, and I've already had a chance to see the beautiful women's club where the master classes took place, and just to see the scenery around the city is already wonderful.
So when you come here, it's a really beautiful view. What do you think about the pianists here that have performed and also went to your master classes?
Well, thank you. I heard some very accomplished, very young pianists this morning play for the most part, and I was impressed with their discipline, but also they played with sensitivity and a beautiful touch. So I think you must have many fine young students here in Vancouver.
About that, could you share some experience from when you were young and when you were learning and working through the process?
Sure. Well, I am from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is maybe a city a little smaller than Vancouver, but not too much. And you know, the building I was in today, the women's club, is actually very like the music school where I grew up. It was a very old building, and I was fortunate to have some really good teachers. They didn't push me too hard. It was only later that I started practicing a lot. But I did develop very early a love for music, which I carried throughout my whole life.
So this love for music made you want to become a musician?
It did, yeah. I didn't know what it meant to become a musician, but I knew that I loved music more than anything else. And so I thought I would try to follow and see where that would lead.
As you said before, you didn't practice really much until a little while after. So did you face any difficulties
Of course.
and feel like you wanted to give up or anything?
The piano is a difficult instrument, as you know. The repertoire we have is so challenging and so deep and wonderful. But I think in a way it led me to never give up and continue, because there was always another piece I wanted to play, and I wanted to play this piece or this concerto, and so in a way it was the music that inspired me to keep going with it more than my own ability.
Yeah. So I have a question for you personally.
Sure.
And many teachers have told me to relax when playing and just feel comfortable. So, but what does relax actually mean, and how do you achieve it?
Well, I think there are two kinds of being relaxed. There's being relaxed as a person in your body, in your life, and then there's being relaxed in your hands at the keyboard. But I think both of those are important, actually, to be comfortable performing. You need to be comfortable with who you are. You need to be comfortable with getting up in front of other people. And that's one kind of being relaxed. In terms of the hands, I do think that in terms of the sound you get at the piano, having your hand be supple, actually that's the word Chopin used when he taught. He always said to his students, more than anything else, he said souplesse in French, which means to be loose or to be relaxed within the hand. That the sound you make in the keyboard will be different if you feel that. Now, of course you need energy and you need the fast fingers and all of that too. I think often what we mean when we say relaxed, and this is something I've been thinking about a lot in my own playing, is the speed at which you release your finger. So there's the energy that brings it into the key, right? But the speed at which you let it go determines the quality of the sound. And often I think many students tend to keep that tension into the key, and the sound may have a harshness to it. But if you can bring yourself to release the fingers faster, you have more control over the sound. So that's a different kind of being relaxed, I guess. I think both those kinds of relaxation are important.
Thank you. And I found that many students have a problem when they come to memorizing. So do you have a way to memorize a really long piece, like very fast and
Oh my
accurately?
goodness. I have my way. I think each musician has to find their own way how to memorize music. It's not easy for me, I will say. I think some musicians memorize very quickly, and I've noticed that some seem to have a vast memory. For me, I learn not only by sound and by feel, as we all do, but also visually with imagery. So for me, when I memorize, I actually imagine what it looks like, my hands on the keys, and I imagine myself playing the notes in my mind, in my mind's eye. I also study the score away from the piano. I find that helpful. And basically what I'm doing is reading the music, but also imagining myself playing as I'm reading the notes. That's my process, but I also find it very important to play for other people. When you get a little nervous, then you realize what you really need to keep working on in terms of your memory. So that's my process, but yours might be different.
Yes, I think everybody has their own way. Like I just memorize them in smaller chunks and then put them together, which I find really helpful. And for people my age, we're getting ready to think about what we want to do when we get older. And for example, if I wanted to go to this music school like Julliard, so how should I prepare if I wanted to apply?
Well, you prepare your whole life, you know, to do something like that. You're working throughout when you're young. I mean, what the teachers at Julliard are looking for is a kind of independent thought on your part, a kind of artistry which comes from yourself. So I think the first step is to develop an independent self in your music making. We learn from our teachers and we do what our teachers want us to do, right? We play the certain way, they ask us to do it. But eventually that starts to come from you, who you are and what you want to say, which is from yourself. And if you can get to that point, I think that's when you start to become an artist, and Julliard is certainly looking for that in students. Of course, you need to be able to play evenly and accurately and all of those skills, which we try for, right? But in the end, creativity is an individual art. It comes from you.
So it's more well-rounded instead of just technical and...
For sure that. Yeah, it's really not enough to just be able to play cleanly, although it's wonderful. You want to, again, develop an independent thought. And that comes through in young artists when they play from themselves. Of course, a sense of style is important. You know, Mozart's music is in a certain style that's not appropriate to Chopin, right? So that also does make a difference, because when you audition, you have to play in several different styles, and the teachers will definitely look and see whether you can show your ability in Bach and Mozart. But if you get one wrong, it's okay. We're all trying to get better at our Mozart playing, or this style or that style. So I think there's a little bit of a misconception that if you play a wrong note, you're out, right? Or something like that. It's not that way. It's really not that way in an audition. So that should, I hope, give young pianists some comfort.
So there are more and more young pianists studying at these like pre-college and college. Do you teach a lot of them?
Sure, I see many students. I work in the college at Julliard, not in the pre-college. I have a couple younger students of my own who I work with. But it's been a great joy of my life to work with young musicians such as yourself. There's nothing more rewarding than seeing a young artist come into being, and to go from somebody who plays the piano, which many, many people do, and become an artist who has something to say from themselves. That process is just a joy to be a part of, and when it happens, it's a kind of gift in itself.
So it's your students achieving something, but you both feel that gratitude you have from each other,
Yes.
for helping each other, working out together, and then this joy of achieving your goals.
That's a great way of putting it, Jessica. Yeah, I think gratitude goes both ways with teachers and students.
Okay. So thank you so much for sharing all of this with us, and for sharing your views with us. It says, giving us many more thoughts of piano and music and finding our own style within us. So we hope to see you more often, and we also hope that more young pianists from Vancouver will study with you and meet you at Julliard.
Thank you.
It's a little souvenir from
Thank
the
you very
VYPC,
much.
so please remember
Wonderful.
Vancouver.
This has been a pleasure. Thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome.